2001, I was the Senior Vice President of Global Talent at American Express. And basically what that meant was I was responsible for all of their hiring of people and development of people around the world. I had a great commute, by New York standards or by any standards. I had the opportunity to get to work in about 45 minutes, which in New York is a novel commute. And secondly, part of my commute was a ferry ride from Jersey City or Hoboken over to Lower Manhattan. And there were days where I would take the ride and actually not get off. I would make another round trip just because it was such an enjoyable day and you had this chance to see the New York skyline. So it was great. In 2001, everybody knows about 9/11, and that clearly had an impact on my life. I mean, I saw things that day I thought I'd never see. And what it did was push to the forefront our own mortality and how important it was to really ask some tough questions about where I was going in life and what I wanted to do in life and where I wanted to spend my time. So 9/11 had a big impact. And then in 2002, in February of 2002, I was actually fired from my job. A lot of reasons why, but basically me and my boss saw the world a little differently. In 2 years, the 2 years since I left American Express, I became a fishmonger. Basically, what I did was purchase a business, an already existing business, which is a retail wholesale seafood business in Maplewood, New Jersey, which even I'm surprised at times. If you had told me 5 years ago I'd be owning a fish market, I would have said you were nuts. But it was an opportunity that gave me the chance to live out my intentions, which was to get better control of my time. It was an established business, and it was really about customer service and not fish. And customer service is what I've done my entire life. Probably the biggest plus in running my own business, I'd have to really give you two answers. One would be the opportunity to work with my children and spend more time with them. Two of them work in the store, my wife's involved, and all of them spend time in the store. And secondly is you certainly have a lot of problems and challenges in a small business, but they're my problems and challenges. And it's up to me to take care of them and take responsibility for them, which is actually refreshing. Shortly after I'd left American Express, I was running into a number of people who were out of work. 2002, if you remember, was a year where a number of companies were downsizing due to the economy. And I started the Career Transition Network as a dialogue with people who needed help. It was a ministry I was running out of several churches and synagogues in the area. And it was simply intended to help people understand how they could find jobs, find better jobs. And it's really evolved into a much more robust series of workshops that are focused on both career and life transition. One of the first workshop in the Career Transition Network, and there are 5, is all about change and what we call making sense of life's changes. And change is simply things that happen. You know, 9/11 happened. You lose your job, it happens. You know, you have a death in the family, it happens. But transition is really what goes on inside you. What do you do differently to learn from the experience, to have a better outcome, to really achieve the aspirations you want to achieve? So one is external change and the other is internal. What am I going to do about it? When we talk about transition, there are really 3 phases of transition. And it's sort of reversed from how most people would look at it. And true transition starts with an ending. And basically you can't get to something new unless you end where your previous chapter was, whether it's a work chapter or a situation in your life. And there's certain rituals you need to go through to make that ending happen. The second stage is called the neutral zone, which is that area where you're disoriented and you're not sure where to go and you seem like you're lost, but you know, my belief is you have to get lost before you can find yourself. So it's not a comfortable place to be, but it's a place you have to be in order to go through complete transition. And then finally, once you go through those phases, you can start a new beginning. And it's not until then, until you can really consider yourself having transitioned from one point to another. There are basically 4 disciplines of renewal that we look at, disciplines or skills that are critical for renewal, which is transition and going through transition. The first one is truth-telling, and it's really truth-telling to yourself. Are you willing to ask yourself the hard questions? Are you satisfied in life? Are you comfortable with the relationships you will have with people? The second stage in the entire process is really around sacrifice. And before you can start something new, you have to be able to create some space for that to happen. And sacrifice can either be moving from a larger house to a smaller house so you have more financial freedom, or it can be a belief you have. For example, I could never see myself doing that, and maybe just considering that you could do that. And so you're removing a belief as an obstacle. The third skill or discipline of renewal is around innovation or creativity. It's thinking about something totally different or looking at yourself in a totally different light. Right? And then the fourth skill or discipline is around intentionality, is getting a laser-like focus around what you're focused on. For example, in my situation, my intentions with Freeman's was to get more control of my time, to do the things I wanted to do. Still work a lot of hours, but do it on based on my priorities and not somebody else's. And I'm in the process of achieving that. You have control of your life, and it requires a significant amount of courage to take that control. It's very hard, especially in midlife, when I was making the transition, to all of a sudden change gears because you get responsibility for a family. I have kids in college, kids going to college, and it's scary. Once you realize you can make the change and make the leap, you can do it. It's just, are you willing to do it?